Hello, everyone. We are going to get started momentarily, just letting everyone join.
All right, it looks like a few people are already joining. So, hello and welcome everyone. So, for today's session, I'm here with our sales director, Samantha Perry. And welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be sharing WeSuite best practices. We're going to show you how to elevate your WeSuite experience with a dive into best practices. And after this webinar, you will know how to apply various tips and tricks within WeEstimate to cut back on proposal time, navigate the We opportunity interface, and how to optimize it. We'll also show you a pipeline of overview of our host of products, and you'll also get a sneak peek at things that are coming down the road and much more. And if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask. If you need us to slow down, revisit a point, or dive deeper into something, just drop your questions in the chat. All right. Thank you. And let's dive right in.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. We have a full house, so excited to see everyone. This is a tips and tricks webinar. Do a couple of these a year. And while I'm going to go into some of my favorite tips and tricks, this is always a really great session with questions from the audience. So if there's any questions as I'm going along or you want me to hit at the end, please put into the chat. So we are going to go through a little bit of everything today, and I do want to give you some sneak peek of things coming. Um, Thought we'd start with some tips and tricks with We Opportunity. So I'm sharing my screen now on the dashboard. And whether you've used WeSuite a long time or are newer to the application, there's a few tips that I think can make navigating the interface and really optimizing, updating your pipeline easier to do. So I wanted to start with the My Settings. So in the top right corner, where you see your name and you click My Settings. If you haven't gone through this in a little while, I would really recommend to do so. This is, you're going to see a few different tabs here of things that you can set up and standardize for your profile, changing your username and password, updating any contact info. This close all tab confirmation is a good one to have on, but really wanted to focus on the dashboard settings. So the little windows of information that are behind this tab are driven from this dashboard settings. You can turn these cubes or cubbies is what I call them, and you can move them around with this four arrow icon. Put it in an order that you like um, so that it makes the most sense for you. You can hit this save icon and the refresh icon if you want to update things. But two important points, any upcoming tasks within a certain time frame, update that in hours. There's also one of these cubbies is a bucket called untouched leads, which you can set a time frame and what you consider to be untouched. So in my case, I have, if I have not touched a lead in over one week, end up in that bucket, which is a nice place for you to just go and see, oh, I haven't touched that lead in a while. And then your opportunity statistics. I keep it as the whole year. You'll see the set current date to field. You'll want to just check that on. So this last to date continues to change. If you put a start and an end, then you've capped yourself off there. But that's updating the statistics in this area where you can see your close ratio, how many opportunities you have in each stage, as well as the statistic windows, which you'll see one for outright sale and one for RMR. Even if you don't put in quotas, you just won't see the orange bars. I personally always think having a goal and quota set is good so you can see how you're doing against that goal, but the green will start to grow as you have achieve different sales. So running through this one, as well as if you have not set up the auto sync for your Outlook or Google Calendar, this sometimes takes a little work on the IT side if it's not set up for the whole organization. But if your Outlook password has changed and your Outlook calendar was syncing and it's not any longer, it's probably due to updating your password here. And so you can update this information, or if it does need some IT resources, your team can work with our team to make sure that this is all working. And another good one to check is setting things to all in the duration here makes it so that it's just easier to find things. And so the next place I go almost immediately when I log into WeOpportunity after my dashboard is the WeOpportunity URG, which is under the reporting here. I find this so incredibly helpful because it is a zero-in to-do list of all the opportunities you have under your profile, and if you have the rights to see other people, you can run reports on other people. But this is the first place I go every morning to see what do I need to do today and what's coming up for the week. So as soon as I go to this grid, I already have a view saved called forecasted sales. And the view consists of the filter I have up top. So I have all the leads that I've touched within this year in these stages. And then I have these specific columns on. So I have the last time I updated the lead, its current status, the source, the owner, the sales type, name. And so you can see I have very specific columns on. Let's sort it by update date. And I might have another sort on. I do. I have pipeline sorted. So let me switch that off. And so by using this filter, I can see newest to oldest leads that I have updated and that I have touched. And so as you're going through this, this is a quick way to see what opportunities you have in the funnel, what maybe you haven't touched or updated in a little while. And by clicking the pencils as you go down this, it will automatically open the lead. So I'm running reports on a few different users. So these are all Johnny Cash and Justin Stone, but I'm Joe. So I haven't touched this lead since September 16th. Hit the pencil there. It's going to open the opportunity for me now into a new tab. And then I can go ahead and update this lead, add notes, change status, update any budgetary information, and then I'll continue to do that as I run through all of my opportunities. This makes sure that you have, there's no needle in the haystack here. You have a list in front of you of all your open opportunities, where everything's at, and what you need to do next. So segueing into that, another dropdown I find incredibly helpful is the pipeline dropdown. Really depends on how your organization uses it. But of course, WeSuite already has out-of-the-box stages. This is already an RFQ'd lead, so I can't change it. I have to win or lose my quote in order to update this opportunity. But WeSuite's out-of-the-box stages, at least currently, we do have being able to customize your own stages coming soon. But as lead, opportunity, request for quote, win, loss, or I want to put something on hold, or it's deactivated. And so I kind of consider the sub stages within that. I often coach teams to use the pipeline dropdown. Reason for this is that you can configure as many options as you need, and there is a percentage and what that percentage means to the organization. And so you can see I literally have the stages of the sales cycle in my option. It's an unqualified lead. It's been qualified. I set an appointment. I had my first meeting. We're doing the scope. And so I will use pipeline as a way to sort my opportunities. If I go back into my WeOpportunity URG, and let's say you can multi-filter, but let's say I don't want to filter by update date, but now I'm going to filter by pipeline. And let's just go the opposite. I can see which stage all of my quotes are currently in. So these two quotes, the proposal is being drafted and sent out. The next four, I'm working on the scope of work, or maybe I know it's with an engineer, and I can go through each of these phases. So if you find that you need a way to more easily categorize the stage, or the step in the pipeline that you are at with an opportunity, I highly recommend adding pipeline into the mix. It's an easy drop down to add with the others. If you are creating tasks and syncing with your calendar and scheduling things for yourself to do, that's also great. I'm going to go there in a second. But this is an easy thing you can add into your organization that really helps to optimize where you're at in the funnel, and kind of finding where things are stuck or where the low-hanging fruit is. And so this is something that your system admin could set up, where you define the percentage and then the descriptive word. Now, the percentage is helpful in that it will weight your budget. So I put in a $50,000 budget for this lead. It's taking 45% of that and saying the estimated value of this opportunity is 22 and a half. Even if that's not how you run your reporting and you do full forecasts of the full budget, that's okay. But that's why you'll see that number here. Okay, moving on, because I want to get to some WeEstimate tips and tricks and Quote Anywhere. I do want to bring up the task tab. So I do get questions about this fairly often. Some people use it a lot. Some people never touch it. The idea is it is a split screen. You can create a task, up at the top here, and just say, I need to do a job walk, and I'm going to do that, tomorrow at 3:30. And I could add that to my calendar. I could just keep it as a task. Just not adding it to calendar means it physically will not go on your Outlook calendar, and it won't drop on the calendar down here. I am going to add it to the calendar. So I've added that task. Here's the thing that I need to do. And so if you go to your global scheduler, which is this calendar icon at the top, it just will bring you right to your schedule and all the things that you need to do, and accumulates all the different tasks that you've created within all your different leads. And then the split screen down below, now here's that appointment I just created showing on the calendar view. So if I want to see it as a running list, or I want to see it as my calendar, that's the split screen. Now, if I add the task directly to the calendar, like Friday at 1, double click, it just presets the date and the time, so I don't have to select those. And now I pick the task type. Let's say we'll do I'll submit the proposal by Friday, and it's assumed to be added to your calendar because you're adding it directly to your calendar. Once I do that, I go up top, and that task I added is now also here for the job walk I'm doing and the proposal that I'm submitting on Friday. And then you can edit these and complete these. So if you do go to your global calendar, which I'll go to next, it is just going to show you only your calendar, zeroed in, and all your upcoming tasks. You just saw these 2 appointments. And if I want to see it in list view, just switch calendar view to grid view. And now it's just going to show you a running list of all of your upcoming tasks. I could filter it by what's, not complete. I could filter it by removing out all the task types. And maybe I only want to see my follow-up calls or my job walks, but this would be the place to see all your tasks and what you need to do. And by clicking on any of these opportunity IDs that are hyperlinked, it will open right to the lead itself, so you can make updates and add further tasks. All right, so those are kind of the Encompass tips, like really high level tips in WeOpportunity that I think if you're incorporating, updating your settings, creating reporting views of your leads in very simple, I'm a less is more person. You don't need 200 columns on. If you need to add more data, you always can. But things like last updated date, last note, phone number, pipeline stage, you can run through this and really keep your pipeline really up to date and clean, and hopefully keep the funnel moving quickly. There's also a nice one, days in process. This is a good metric to see, how long is it taking on average to close opportunities, and where are things getting stuck and stuff like that. And there is a data dictionary for this and a video on Teachable that shows you all the buttons of how to use this. And then the calendar is another piece. If you're not leveraging this at all, I definitely would. You know, the opportunity simply says, hey, call me back in 3 weeks. Adding it as a task into the lead is super simple to do, and then that way it's not out of sight, out of mind. All right, so I want to do something similar with WeEstimate. Pulling this up, we'll go right into my settings as well, tools, my settings. If you have not gone through this in a little while, I would definitely do so. Also, if you're on the latest version 6.11, that you might see some new options here, so it's always good to check. Um, Filter, this comes up often. If you are constantly updating these dates because you're searching for a job you did 2 years ago, update this filter to just be a longer amount of time. So then when you search, it's not like it doesn't show up and you have to open up this calendar. And over on the right hand side, if you have a bunch of tabs over here and it's just noise and you don't, approve jobs, you're not importing jobs, just turn them all off. And then you don't need to see anything on the right hand side of the screen. Estimate are a lot of just nice default settings to keep on. Always ask, are you sure when you want to delete something? Always ask for quantity. I can't tell you, this is one I wish was just defaulted in general, but I can't tell you how many users I hop on with. They add a part, drag and drop it in, it auto lands, and then they have to update the quantity for everything. This use quick quantity will open up that box. And there's a few others here. Some people quote in front of their customer, so they hide cost. Um, always auto create a quote package when winning a job. These will just save you clicks throughout the rest of the application. And if you use the GP adjust a lot and you like to do it a certain way, save it for yourself. If you always do even, set it to even. If you like to do advanced and you usually put it all on labor and charge items and 90% to labor, set that as a default. You can always change it on the fly in the job, but this way it's just always preset to the favorite way that you do things. Same with default global term. If you have mixed terms and you're constantly updating terms to match, you can turn this on by default and set a certain number of months that you always quote. And then documents, whether WeSuite hosts you or you're in the Bold Group Cloud or you're in your own area. I know there's can be frustration around getting documents in and out of WeSuite. And sorry, I'm on the wrong tab, the Options tab. Set yourself a default import location and export location. It doesn't have to be the same place, but this way when you export a job summary report or a proposal, you always know where it's going to go. When you go to import a supporting document or an Excel parts list, it's always coming from the same folder. So you double click here, find the file path that you want, and select that folder. And if you are in a cloud, usually your IT team will help work with you to create some sort of tunnel between your local desktop and your cloud desktop so that you're not having to copy and paste files in and out of the two locations. And then documents, this is another nice way to set defaults. If you're constantly zooming in, I know I do this a lot. I should update this to 150 when you're looking at a proposal. If you use the same document template, the same scope and cover letter pretty often, default them. You can always change it after the fact. Same with terms and conditions. This is newer. That way, creating a proposal can just be so quick if you're just already have everything templated out. And we're going to go into some other templates in a second. All right. And we have recently released System Surveyor won't talk about today. We've come out with an integration with them, but we also have released a single sign-on and WeEstimate so that you could authenticate your Microsoft account so then you don't need to log into WeSuite each time. So if you're using single sign-on through your organization, reach out to us because we can set that up fairly easily in your WeEstimate and your Quote Anywhere environments. Okay. And I know I'm talking quickly, so if anyone needs to see anything again, feel free to pop anything in the chat there. Moving on to some other really nice tips. In the proposal dashboard area, if you are not already copying and pasting jobs, it's very easy to do so. I can right click on a job and hit copy, and then I can paste it as a J2 into the same bin of 22480 and paste it, and it'll literally create a -2, which I'll do right now. In at least version 9 and up, some of you are on older versions, and definitely upgrade if you are anywhere but past behind 6.11 at this point. You can copy the documents as well. So that means it'll copy the proposal and the contracts. Um, the same check boxes, the scope of work will copy. So if you wrote the customer's name over and over, you will want to double check that. But you don't have to copy the documents. You could just say, no, don't bring the documents, only copy the quote itself. But I will copy it just to show you this example. Continue. And now it's going to automatically open up. Here, it doesn't like this, but that's okay. It might be the contracts. Yeah, it was the documents, but it'll create a J2 for me within this bin. If you have made document changes, there is a feature for anyone on the line here that you can limit that someone can only copy a job so many days old. So if you don't want the team copying jobs with old pricing or old templates, you can put in a system, you can only copy jobs up to 180 days ago, and then you're not running the risk of copying something very old. So here's that copied job. It creates the -3 for me here, and I can then edit the job as much as I want at this point. And if you do have any red pricing, the unit costs are red, even if they're green. I always suggest when you copy a job, or you're working on a job you haven't touched in a week or two, use the Get Latest Pricing button. This button literally will refresh the pricing on your quote. We made it a little easier. Prior, you had to kind of like in Excel, I said, hold this arrow down and hold shift and go down here and literally highlight all the rows you want to get latest pricing for. Then you say, yeah, pull today's price from my accounting system or from, we also integrate with PSA, ADI, or you might store all your parts in WeSuite. But there's an easier way to do that now. If you don't want to highlight all the rows like this, you can right click on a folder and select Get Latest Pricing for everything in this folder. And sorry, by everything, I mean parts. If your labor rates have changed, you might need to update those and things like that. But this way, it will just auto refresh all the pricing for your material in the folder itself rather than highlighting the entire row. So always recommend doing that. We'll pull from accounting. Okay. And now I'll do the same thing for access. Doesn't like this for access control. I bet you my parts are from WeSuite, which they are. But then this red should turn to green. So this coloring scheme, if you're not using this now, is a feature we call part timing. And you could put in the system, if it's the price has been updated in the last 30 days, keep it green. Between 31 and 60 days, turn it orange. And over 60 days, turn it red. That way it's just a visual indication that this price might be old. Keep in mind, it will be green automatically if you added the part from the accounting system. It's basically just saying this price was pulled today from the accounting system. So the fact that it could be old in that system still is possible. So you might want to double check that. But if you're keeping, especially stuff you buy all the time, the unit costs up to date in accounting, they'll stay up to date in WeSuite, and then you can use the Get Latest Pricing to refresh quotes. And I also always recommend creating a second quote package. Sorry, clicked the wrong button there. I always recommend creating a second quote package just in case you want to revert back to the prior pricing or keep the same sell price, but maybe just go lower on the margins for your customer. Or you say, no, margins stay the same and the price has gone up, and that's the way it is. Okay. Some other kind of navigation and the dashboard of the job itself. We've added a couple new toolbars here. You'll see a new square footage toolbar was added. It will allow you to enter in a number of square feet. So I can say 500 square feet. And then it would automatically calculate the cost per square foot by dividing the sell price by 500. This was added for some branches that had requested this. And you'll also see different toolbars, if you use deposits, discount, taxes. And if there's toolbars you don't ever use, like you don't want to use a square footage or you don't use test and inspect, you can turn them off and really clean up your interface, rearrange these. Like I like to see my total RMR and total estimate over here. And then my material, I'll turn on labor, subs, and charge items I like to see over here. Same with the grids below. Not everyone knows this. There's, I have the position column, hide part column. There are a lot of columns in the grids that you could turn on or off as an organization and control who can see what, who can edit what. Things like hide part means that it shows on the job, but not on the BOM in the proposal. Sometimes you don't want to show the customer every, nut and bolt. You just want to show them the high level parts. And if you need to reposition parts, you can also do that if you want to show things in a certain order. And just in general, if I want quantity in the front and I want, the vendor over here, by literally dragging and dropping the columns, you can put them in an order that you like. If you have a lot of columns on you never use, your admins can turn them off. That way you're not going all the way over here just to update, the sell price. You can clean all of these grids up. Make it very easy for you. Moving on to supporting documents. This is a newer feature as of 6/11. I'm going to grab a sample summary report. Is you can now designate a type of supporting document. And if you want, we can also program to include a PDF supporting document specifically onto your proposal. So if you are constantly merging the WeSuite proposal with some other, documents or drawings, or it does have to be in a PDF format. You can, of course, save any type of document in supporting docs. But a new feature now to really save our users time is by clicking include in document. There is I have to put it somewhere. Let's put it with exhibit A and include it in the document. Now on my proposal, that'll tack on as an additional page of my proposal automatically. And so that does take a little WeSuite programming. We just need to know where you want the document to go and what it should be called. And then that way user can easily select it and know exactly where it's going to go. But this is a new feature as of 6/11. And if you are using System Surveyor, this is another way to do that. You can link your WeSuite job to your System Surveyor site, and then automatically include the drawing that you drew into your proposal document. And then that way you don't have to cut and paste it and put it in your scope of work. All right, so speaking of scope of work, let's move over to the documents. I know we've gone through this a few times, but I think it's always good to hammer home. The checkbox tree that you see here can be defaulted. Just so you see, I've come to the document, I've done nothing, and I already have everything checked in a certain way. That's the company default template, and I could, of course, change it if I want. And then you yourself could have different template options of the way you like to display your checkboxes. And you can see in my example, I have my default new customer, default residential, existing customer line item, existing customer lump sum. I do think it saves you a lot of time to just quickly select my lump sum template. And in this case, I don't have any boxes on in this one, but it would select everything the way you normally like it for that template. You can make a quick on the fly change and generate. And you don't have to worry about which box combination goes with what. So I can click template maintenance here, create a new template, call it, my favorite template. I'm just going to edit one I already have, and then check on the pages and then the pricing display the way that you need it. And just keep in mind, not to give your admins more work, but if there is a checkbox or some combination or a choice, like, deposit comes up sometimes. Hey, I wish we had a 100% deposit option. WeSuite can customize this checkbox tree. Out of the box, there's 100 checkboxes, and if you need anything custom, we can always do that. So speak with your team if there's something you're constantly doing out of the system just to make it look the way you need it to look. And then a couple more template options: scope of work, cover letter. These each have their own template editor, and I'm going to go into some of our really new, exciting AI features with this in a second. But scope of work, if you're constantly going to, a Word document or some template uh, database that you have on a T drive, paste those into template maintenance, and then you don't have to go and hunt for it out of the system or go back to some old job and find the scope that you wrote and paste it in. So here I already had a defaulted scope of work, so that's why something's already written here. And I can add pictures and tables, and so this, for example, is a table that just has invisible borders. Again, if you like to do things like that, start from a template, and then you could always replace the pictures very easily and not have to build this every time. And then I can say, nope, I'm doing an intrusion and video job on this one, so let's swap in my intrusion and video template. And it's going to say, are you sure you want to do that? Yes. And now one swaps in for the other. And I believe it added to the end here. So it started here and continues on. So it will add on top of what you already have. That's what the pop-up said. It actually said this will add and amend what you already have. If you want to replace, delete what you have and then add it. So if you do have small mini templates of things that you stack together into one job, that is very useful there. And cover letter also has a template editor, but that's one that I find is pretty cookie cutter unless you have different cover letters, maybe for different market verticals or new or existing clients. And then T's and C's also has its own editor, but extra permissions there. You might need a certain user level in order to actually edit your T's and C's. Alrighty, so I think that covers, last thing that I like to bring up is associated labor. I get into conversations with teams about this all the time. Some people do associate labor on everything, some don't, because they, really want to think about how much labor every specific job is going to take. But I think a middle ground doesn't hurt, especially for things you do all the time. You can associate any different combination of labor, and I have training and difficulty factor and all these things on. But if I just take all the labor in my video system, I have 10 hours of install that automatically came in with the parts that I added. And so let's say I had a camera, it takes an hour to install, so I have 10 cameras, so it automatically brought in 10 hours. And then I could always say, well, these are really high ceilings, or we're going to have to drill into this or that, so I need to add 12 more hours. So that's why you literally have the two different quantity buckets. You might want to rename the one that you have just called quantity. I call mine part labor hours, so it's very clear this is automatic from the system. This is where I add my labor. And it doesn't have to be one type of labor. I could say every time I install a camera, it takes 1 hour to program, 2 hours to install, and 20 minutes to train. And then that way, as you're just adding quantity, the labor is always auto-calculating, and you can see that with the hammer and screwdriver icon at the part level. So this 10 hours came from this device, and if I open it up, I can see it's 10 hours of install, but I could have 1 hour of this, 2 hours of that, and I could edit it individually in the part if you want to get that granular. But a lot of teams just take what's been auto-calculated and then add supplemental labor on top of that. But if you haven't already done this, it's easy to do, whether your parts are in WeSuite or an accounting system. Take the top 50 parts you sell a lot, including labor can save you a lot of time in building estimates. And we can also do calculated labor, which I've seen a lot with project management. So Auto-calculated labor based on quantity is one thing. I have one device, 2 hours each, so it added, 10 hours. But if I said hour of for every 8 hours of project management, add 2 hours, sorry, for every 8 hours of installation, add an hour of project management, you can calculate other types of labor to go onto the job because of other labor. So sorry if I'm making that sound confusing, but if you already have predetermined engineering and installation, and then you want to auto calculate in addition to that project management and training, um, that might be a good way to do that. So if either of those things are of interest to you, definitely bring that up to your admins, can make creating jobs much quicker. And then you, of course, have just packages, which outside of all of this, you can just say, hey, this double door package always comes with all its components, its labor, its chargeable items, its services. And then I can just say, I have 4 doors on this job. And then it just brings everything in at once. And if you haven't used packages before, there's this flat item insert. A lot of people just click OK and just skip this altogether. But if you click flat item insert, it basically means it's only a package up into this second. As soon as you say add it in as flat items, the fact that it's a package kind of goes away. It just brings everything onto the job at once. And then it's all treated as individual line items again that you can then change quantity or swap one thing in for something else. So a lot of people skip right over this, but if you click flat item insert, because you don't want to sell it as a package, you want it to basically be a way to get a lot of stuff onto the job at once, but then manipulate it. That's why you might want to select this. And the package editor in general, a lot of teams leave this open to their users because you could create like your favorite parts as a package, or you might notice the packages have a globe, it means it's a global package, and your admin created that for everybody. And if it has a brown box, that means you're the only one that can see it. And actually, this made me kind of skip over associated parts is another good one. If I type in camera and I grab, 17 of this type of camera, it's going to bring 3 rows in now because I've associated every time I grab that camera. Also bring in its shock detector and its power adapter. So those all came in at quantity 17 also. So, you don't have to do this for everything because there's some upkeep to this. But again, things you sell a lot, auto associating accessories, labor, can really speed up your time in getting quotes out. All right, so I'm going to move on to Quote Anywhere now. We're really hammering this home for everybody. And if you haven't gotten it set up in your sandboxes, now is the time to do so. Quote Anywhere is the web interface where we are taking and literally rewriting all of the opportunity, all of the estimate into one easy to use interface. Here's the Dunkin' Donuts -3 job we've just been working on just to kind of show you. Think of it as a mobile app to your WeEstimate. I mean, some of you have already converted completely and never log into WeEstimate anymore, and others will probably wait until our latest version. I'm gonna go into, I'm in the latest version right now actually, and I can see cost and sell. The current state of Quote Anywhere was built as if you were potentially quoting in front of somebody, so it's set on by default in presentation mode. That means I only see sell price and quantity. And if you want to see GP and cost, open up WeEstimate and you can see it all. What's coming in the next version 6.12 is the fact that I can turn presentation mode off, and then now it reveals the cost, total cost, and GPM columns. So whether you use Quote Anywhere as just the mobile app to quickly resend a quote or pass a bin or approve a job, and you still use WeEstimate for a majority of your real engineering of a quote, that's fine. And if you're doing if Quote Anywhere is capable of doing everything you need it to do for small to medium sales, I mean, even pretty large sales at this point, especially with presentation mode off, I'm seeing more and more teams are likely going to move to Quote Anywhere entirely, and WeEstimate's just a fallback. But what's nice is it's not a one for the other. There's no uplift, there's no migration. You're just going to log in and you're going to see all of your historical jobs that you've been working on. And it looks really nice on a phone. I happen to be on my laptop, so it's showing in the browser here, but it is agnostic to the device you're on. If you're on an iPad, iPhone, Android, you do need to be in a browser. It is a browser-based application, but if you're in Chrome or Safari on your phone, it will fit to your phone screen, so it feels really like a mobile app, and you're not scrolling around a web page. So, when we think about our suite of products, we've always been a lead to close. WeOpportunity, WeEstimate, Quote Anywhere was the add-on module with it. But Quote Anywhere is really the future of where all the features are being rewritten into for a new, simple to use interface. You're going to see all your familiar stuff, your job summary report. The bin is the project, the estimates within that bin, your folders. When I click on a folder, I can add into it parts, labor, services, packages. We've added the ability to save favorites, or you can search from your WeSuite or accounting databases like you normally would. In 612, you're going to see the GP adjust, which was a whole fun thing to learn about how that gets done. That's actually the estimate summary is equivalent to clicking all estimate items. So it's kind of the encompassing of all the folders within it. And so when I click estimate summary, it gives me the grand total of all my toolbars, the GP and adjust that we were just talking about defaulting. I can target seek my sell price or my margin. I want a 30% margin. We'll do that evenly. So you're going to start to see all of this come into your Quote Anywhere in 612. And for those of you already on 611, you're probably already seeing about half of this. The site survey module is built right into this. It's meant to be easy, salesperson friendly, sketch something up and put a rough order of magnitude quote together. If you're using other drawing tools, that's okay. But, I can add, first floor as my folder and upload a floor plan or take a picture of one, take a picture of the fire escape on the wall, download a Google Earth image, draw something if you have nothing. I'm just going to pick one I have. And the real goal here is that as you draw, it is going to do, and by dragging and dropping the parts and pieces onto the floor plan, it's going to build the bill of materials as you go. That's the main objective of the WeSuite survey. So we'll go and lock in this plan. And here's my dentist's office. Get it to scale. Search my WeSuite database for a smoke detector. It's got my cute little icon here. I want one here, one here, one here. These were each about $54. So my sell price is going to go from $42,145 to, $42,300. And so as you draw, it builds your quote, or as you quote, then you can lay it down on the drawing. But built right in. Some people use it for every job. Some people use it for specific jobs. And again, if you're right in front of somebody, you can really lay out what you're thinking with them. Lay the devices down where they want them, add notes for the technician, and then hit save and it spits out a price. And that is even better if you're associating labor and other accessory parts, because then it's really getting a grand total sell price, where at that point, then all you have to do is add your recurring services. And if you do have packages, when you throw on a package, it'll just throw everything out on all at once, and then you can just locate everything. So hopefully I'm just giving you guys a little bit of everything to really see how you can speed up and optimize your quote creation. um, supporting documents, the proposal itself. The template editor is coming in 612, but if you go into WeEstimate and create templates like I was talking about earlier, checkbox templates, scope of work templates, then you can select them and use them in Quote Anywhere. So here's all those templates we just went through. And if you want to check off each box, you click configure here. Scope of work, I already had one in this job, but if I enter this editor, which will bring us to kind of our sneak peek portion of our class, um, you'll see my pre-written scope of work and selecting from alternate templates. So this is taking a second because of our new AI features, so just bear with it. And so here's that scope of work I already had in my job. You can see I can easily edit it or pick from a different template. And the template creation is still in WeEstimate at this point. It's coming to Quote Anywhere in 612, but you can select it and use it and edit it. So if you're not already heavily leveraging templates, by doing so, then Quote Anywhere is literally click, click, click. Okay, so I'm going to pause for questions after our next segment. I wanted to go through some sneak peek of some new features coming out. So 612 in general is coming out. The goal is before the end of the year. So we've been working really hard to get everyone on 611 so we can start putting 612 in your sandbox. So if you are not on 611 in production, let's get that going because then we can put 612 as a sneak peek right in your sandbox and you can start playing with it. And we're going to release it at this point. We know everyone's been waiting a long time, but just more features will keep coming to it. So just like we've done in the past, it's called a hot fix, is just the development term for it. You know, doesn't sometimes it's a bug fix, but often it's smaller new features that go into little mini releases outside of the big releases. And in general, we're moving towards more of a release small amounts of things more quickly than having a whole lot of features dropping at once. But with all that going on and converting WeEstimate into the web, we've also been working really hard on introducing new AI applications into our tools. So we have some AI development on staff now that has written a separate product called Selena AI. And we first have integrated it with Quote Anywhere. And its first debut is going to be with the scope of work editor, cover letter editor, and in the URG. So you'll see you have the Selena Assist button right here. When I select that, it's going to ask me for my prompt, and I can type in a scope of work or paste in something I've written, and then Selena will go through it and clean it up and format it and make it look nice, which a lot of you are already doing with other AI applications like ChatGPT. Or you can just use the recorder and speak to it, which I'm going to do now. Selena, I need a scope of work for an access control and video system. Please include a bill of materials and a rough schedule for the duration of 2 technicians for 3 weeks. So we'll go ahead and stop that and submit it and see what she comes back with. So we are going into pilot right now with a handful of clients. We have an AI advisory board that we've had a few meetings so far. And so there we go, it's popped in. And so the way that this is, so it's literally pulling from you, what you said, from your database, from the job that you've put together. And so this is not some AI we've integrated with that's pulling from the Internet of Things, right? It's really built to learn from you. And as we've all learned with AI being more specific is better, and all these other things. But the idea is that it's not going to suggest things that you don't sell or not in your system, or it's going to learn as you go, but you can see it's put together something pretty nice so far. I can literally say, yep, I'll take this and edit it on my own, or I may prompt her a little more to take this out or add this. But you can see where this is going. And so this is included in both the cover letter and scope of work with its initial release. And we also have included it in the URG, which is where I'm going to go to next. But hopefully this is looking really cool for you guys, and we're really excited about this coming out. So I will go to the URG now. That is in 612, so it's not in Quote Anywhere yet if you're on 11. But the reporting grid, we're kind of getting rid of the word grid because all these grids in WeEstimate are going away. So we're just calling it the Universal Reports, so RIP URG. But all of your views that you've created will be here. And you can see the columns of data the last time you ran it. Like, let me grab my forecast view and configure it. And just like the URG in WeEstimate, which I didn't even go into today, but if you have not played around with this button in WeEstimate, definitely do so, and you'll find some pretty cool stuff. Just if anyone watches this back, you can select your users, your status filters, your time frame, and then all the columns of data you can turn on or off. But just like WeUp, you can create pretty nice view for yourself that'll snap to the way that you like it. I could filter by last update date or job sent date or probable close date. And here's all the quotes I sent in Q4 by the date I sent them. So this is double click any of these rows, it opens a job for you. It's pretty cool. And if you're constantly not forecasting and your boss needs you to do it real quick, you can literally run through probable close date right from here and just bang it all out without having to open up every single job. So, win chance, probable close date, next action item, you can edit right from here. So as this got rewritten into Quote Anywhere, it's similar. You pick your dates, your users, if you're allowed to see other people's stuff, your stages, meaning, I want to see only jobs sent or only jobs sold or all statuses. That's the stages. And then the actual columns of data, which, as I was showing you before, we have 100 different columns you could pull on, and then you mix and match the ones that you want and put them in the order that you want, so that when you export this to an Excel spreadsheet, which you can do so also in WeEstimate by just right-clicking anywhere in this grid, just export to Excel. And then it gives you the real-time data. And so that's what I like, is that it's real-time, right? If come December 1st, I run a report, and it's everything I've done up until that point in WeEstimate. So I, again, use it very heavily in the morning. I'll run a report, things I need to do, calls I need to make, and then by the end of the day, when you run that same report, it's all updated based on everything I did all day. So Selena is also in here with the purpose of analyzing the report that you've put together. So right now, she's literally just going to analyze the report as it is. The data that's on at this current moment, she's going to provide some feedback on it. It's funny in demo because there's a lot of jobs that are sold or lost or $0. So she's going to say, Joe is selling jobs at negative margin and things like that. But it's going to analyze the data, and then from that point, you can, and this one takes a little longer just because she's going through it, and hopefully it'll work here live on the call with you. But once she pops up her thoughts on the data, it will also suggest prompts, or you could just speak into it and say, what's our close ratio looking like for the industrial market? And she's going to analyze the data that you have in WeSuite in that report that you've created, and give you back feedback and suggest other prompts. So, we want to see where this goes as it keeps building, and so that's what we've got going on in the pilots now, and kind of creating this data library, if you will. But but this is really kind of the new exciting stuff going on the AI front. And really, the holy grail of where we're going towards is to, eventually have Selena literally predicting the bill of materials, estimated labor, suggesting parts. Like this is really where we're um, going with these AI tools to really give your salespeople more um, power in the application and do things quicker. So yeah, this probably isn't going to pop up for me, but it would show me, analytics about this and then prompt things like, do you want to learn more about Joe? And you click it and then it'll give you more data, or you could literally speak into it or type in, what's our close ratio for residential or something. All right. But just to kind of give you a sneak peek here. All right, so with all that being said, I did see one question come in, so I am going to answer that. And if there are any other questions, please pop them into the chat. I know we're almost at time, so thank you for all of your time today, everybody. And Janina will go into next month. And we are working on the agenda of webinars for 2026. So those will be posted before the end of the year. And then you could pre-register. You'll, of course, see the regular email blasts going out. So the question was, can you right-click the entire list and hit select all? And I'm not sure exactly which section you're talking about there. If you want to type it in there, or I could always call you and have a separate chat. I see you've also requested that. So yeah, I'll give you a call. Oh, when getting latest pricing, could you right-click the entire list and hit select all? So yes, I believe so. You don't have to go, you don't have to highlight all the rows like I did before. You could right-click the folder and hit get latest pricing, and you have it on the entire job if you click all estimate items. So all estimate items is encompassing all the folders. If you right click all estimate items, click get latest pricing, then you don't have to select all down here. It's just automatically going to do all the parts on the whole job. Awesome. And yeah, someone else asked if this was recorded. It is. It will be on our website and our YouTube channel by tomorrow around this time. So awesome. I'll let Janina close us out, and thanks for y'all's time.
Thank you, Sam. So again, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope that you've learned some good information that you can take back for yourselves and share with your teams. Yes, this webinar is going to be recorded and it will be posted on our website by this time tomorrow on our website under Education and Training Webinars. And don't forget to mark your calendars for our December webinars. So on December 9th, we'll be discussing using automated approval module to improve profitability. And on December 16th, we're going to be discussing WeOpportunity 2026 prospecting and sales goals. Take care and have a great day, everyone.